I found myself at a function recently, I think at Judy's house, where I was talking to the person next to me, and I said, "How do you know Judy?" Or how do you know? I find myself at gatherings, functions frequently, in fact, where I'm asking people, well, how do you know the host? Or because I haven't met you, right? Well, often it's from my bunco group, or my sailing group, or my beekeeping, or my bowling alley, or whatever. But everyone in this room, with maybe one, maybe two exceptions, but 99, well, almost everybody in this room knows us, my wife and I, with a one-word answer, and it rhymes with circumstance. One syllable. Yes, dance, right? And that's how I know all of you. And I have to say that I lived the first half of my life in darkness, right? None of you knew me. It's been exactly half of my life that I've found the light. And that's when I met all of you, but prior to that, I was the least likely person you've ever met to do anything that looked like dancing of any kind. My mom took me to a square dance one time. I was 21 or 22. I literally sat there with my arms crossed the whole night and absolutely refused to participate in any way, shape, or form. But then one day, a guy I knew who was getting divorced, was dating somebody who was going to church with this singles group that was going off to this contra dance up at Norge. And I had recently been fired from a job in the Navy. It was the worst thing that had ever happened to me. It's the only time in my life I've ever been dismissed from a position. And it was horrible. And it led me to this place where I met this guy. His name was Dave Mitchell, and he was dating this woman, Pamela Brothers, who was going to these contra dances up at Norge, and he kept telling me, "You need to go to this dance, you need to go to this dance, you need to go to this dance." And I said, "Get away from me." And so finally, kicking and screaming, sometime in the fall of 1988, they dragged me off to the dance. And it was like a miracle, right? It was like, where has this been all of my life? They helped me do this. They told me what to do. The music was great. People were helpful. It was structured. I didn't have to pretend I was John Travolta. And literally that one evening changed my life. And I kept going back to the contra dancing. And a few months into that, it sort of became a gateway drug into other things. There was this Friday night thing that somebody kept saying, "We always need men. We always need men." So I gave the Friday night thing a try. I went with my buddy Bruce. And in the meantime, about a year after I first tried contra dancing, I was at the Norge contra dance, and I noticed someone there who actually was dancing with that guy right there. Jill was dancing with Mike. They were doing like a schottisch at the end of the evening, and whatever it was, right? And she was gazing intently into his eyes, and I liked that. I thought, oh, I kind of like that. What do I got to do to stand in front of that, right? So a group of us went out that night, and something happened, and I'll let her tell you about that. But
I can tell you that.
I'll bet you can. So all of a sudden, this dancing thing was more intriguing to me, right? But then, not long after that, I had to deploy. I had to go on the Roosevelt, USS Theodore Roosevelt, to a little thing we did over in the Gulf War and the Arabian Peninsula over there, Saddam Hussein and Kuwait and all that. And I knew when I left that there was likely to be hostilities. We really they didn't tell us, but when we left, we knew there was likely to be something. And the worst part of it for me was I was on a ship for 5 months straight, and I only got off the ship one time for about 6 hours when the war ended. And we thought, oh, well, this is great, we'll get to have all kinds of liberty, and we didn't. But about 5 months into it, we went on a 7-month deployment. We did get to go to 2 places where things happened. We got to go to Rhodes, Greece. And we went out, I went with a group of people to this Greek festival party night. And I remember being there with a bunch of Navy guys, and they had us get up and do a little hora dance, step, kick, and step, kick. And I was like, oh, I kind of missed that. That's what that was. Yeah, that dancing thing. And then about a month later, we pulled into Haifa, Israel, and they took me on a tour. And they always take you these little detours to a diamond factory, right? This diamond thing, right? And I'm going through the diamond thing with my arms crossed, you know, not gonna get any on me, but by the time I get to the end of the diamond thing, I was like, who am I kidding here, right? So I bought a diamond in Haifa, Israel, for a special someone that I had met at the contra dance about a year and a half before that. So the ship pulled in on a Friday night, and Jill met me at the pier and took me to folk dancing, which was down at the ARE in Virginia Beach. And I'll still to this day, I never forget walking up the stairs, and there was a banner, welcome home, and it was just this group of people who enveloped me in what was just the greatest feeling of love and care that I'd ever felt in my life. It was really nice. This group of people missed me and cared about me and wanted me to come home safe, and it really meant a lot to me, right? Well, we danced with you guys for another little while, and then Jill lost her job. We got married. I got out of the Navy, and we had to go. We had to leave. And we had a brief moment in New Hampshire, then we ended up in Oregon for what turned into 6 years. We had 2 children out there, and we did dance with people out there. We danced with a Scandinavian group, and I really enjoyed the dancing, but we noticed something about our time there. We noticed that the people that we were dancing with, we weren't really doing much of anything else with. So we would go out to a party, or go out to a festival, or go out to the NATO Fest or something, and we'd see somebody from the dance group, and they'd say, "Hi, how are you? Bye." And we would just sort of go our separate ways, and nobody would have us over for Thanksgiving, and nobody would have us over for Christmas, and it wasn't us, it was just that wasn't what they did. And we started to notice the difference between how we had felt by being here versus how we had felt out there. We visited a couple of times, and Jill, I'll never forget, she came out for a couple of weeks. She stayed, I think, with the Levinskys and with the Surings and with the McDowells, and you guys showered her with affection, loaned her cars, you know, thank you for that. And she said, well, maybe we could consider moving back here one day. Right? And it only took about another 4 years, and we did move back here. And we've been back here for about the last 17 or 18 years. And when tonight, Marina asked me, Marina, raise your hand, she's our Slovakian dance princess there. She's here as an au pair, and she's learning the culture and learning the language. She said, who is going to be here tonight? Who are these people? And I said, she says, work? You know, no, actually, the only people that will be here tonight are people that I know through the dancing world, because you all are the folks, the people who have meant the most to me, to us. You're the ones who've made our lives the most meaningful. And this really, for me, wasn't an evening to have it about me. It was an evening to thank you, to give you a party, to share a little bit of my soon-to-come good fortune, to tell you how much you've meant to me over the years. So, thank you.